So on and on. All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol na'aseh b'dvarei. Right.
L'chaim.
And l'chaim v'bracha. A good tavach, Shavua Tov, and a good yontif. Today is Hey Tavis, fifth day of the month of Tavis. This is the day that in 1987, the judge, a non-Jewish judge in the lower court of Brooklyn, came with um, the verdict that the books that were being taken from the library by the grandson of the previous Rebbe felt that he had a personal claim because the books were personal. And that the books were personal, and he is a rightful heir, at least one of the rightful heirs, and therefore he is deserved. The judge said, no, it belongs to the movement. And the movement, the Rebbe belongs to the Chassidim. Anyway, a lot of fabring on this. Meaning of it. Probably tonight we should. Okay, by the class. All right. So we're still in the discourse that relates to Hanukkah. The lights of Hanukkah should continue to illuminate us. So the Talmud begins to tell us the time of the mitzvah of lighting the Hanukkah lights is at sunset, Mishetishka Hachama. And it extends to when no longer are people found in the marketplace, and specifically Talmudoi, who were the wood gatherers, who would gather the wood, and people would come at night, realizing they didn't have enough wood to warm up their homes in the winter times. Chassidus explains, setting of the sun refers to galus, to exile, while the feet found in the marketplace refers to the forces of klipa, sitra acher, one who rebels against God. That's what it is metaphorically. Everything in creation, this is a really important point, has a spiritual source in the higher worlds. Right? There's nothing in this world that doesn't have a counterpart in the spiritual world. And as a result, it's important to appreciate what's its spiritual source. And there's another principle that goes together with that, is that whatever is in the highest source in the spiritual worlds falls to the lowest in creation, in the physical creation of this world. Right? As we explained, therefore, our job is to refine the lowest aspects of creation and to reveal their godly source, their highly godly revelation. Right? Furthermore, since every descent is for the sake of the ascent thereafter, right? In other words, very important, God didn't create all of this just to come back to reveal its source above, because then you're just coming back to ground zero. the same point, then what would be the point, right? No, the ascent is higher than the original source. It's greater what's accomplished. Which means, if you will, what God accomplishes through creation is not as great as what we accomplish through creation, through our being put into creation and fulfilling our purpose. Right? It's pretty powerful.
Sounds sacrilegious. Sounds sacrilegious.
It sounds, but
Oh, yeah.
the whole point of it to begin with, even in the higher realm, that vis-a-vis God, that's a come down, right?
Oh.
Higher spiritual worlds vis-a-vis God, that's a come down, right?
Right.
So it's, yeah, even though it sounds like a little odd, sacrilegious, as David said, which, I get that. But when you think about it, no, it actually makes perfect sense. We just think that the higher world, because they have a greater awareness of the divine, so therefore it's greater. No, it's a come down for God. Like, God needs it. God needs like the higher spiritual worlds, They don't need it. So why is it there? For our sake. So down here, that when we take a coin and we put it into tzedakah, that coin comes from a higher source, fell down here into a mere physical object, an inanimate object at that. It's not even vegetation, something growing, that you could, sense something truly divine. No, not an animal that's, has life to it. And you elevate it to a higher place than where it evolved from above, which was a high place to begin with, and therefore that's why it fell so low to be inanimate. That's klipas noiga, right? So based on the state, yeah, that's the basic idea. I mean, it's an idea that we've learned many times, right? B'chai, b'chai. Now, based on the statement of the Zohar, that we explained that the place of the sun as it sets is the ultimate purpose of the creation of the sun, right? People go where the sun goes, right? Sun worshippers. So the ultimate purpose of creation is for the sun to set, meaning, as the metaphor of the sun is of Atzilus, the world of emanation, it goes from east to west. It yearns to the west, to go to the west, where the Shekhinah is, where the divine presence is, and to ultimately descend, descending in order to come down to a lower place, right? As it physically goes down, right? So spiritually, it's going down to create from the world of emanation, the world of creation, formation, and the world of action. In order to create, again, this is a metaphor, to create klipa, sitra acher, negativity, so that we would then refine that negativity of this world. We do it in two ways. Skafia, which means to bend yourself, to not give in to the material as an end in itself, but seeing it as part of the divine plan, right? In other words, not to seek the personal benefit, the personal pleasure, the personal comfort from the thing for itself, to bend ourselves not to be motivated by that, but to be motivated to use it in divine service. And even greater is hapcha, which means to transform it, transform yourself, transform the material and the world around us. And through that, we make a dir v'tachtenim, a dwelling place for God in this low world, right? We have a dwelling place for God in this low world. And that's where freedom of choice is born, right? That I have the choice to not give into my natural inclination, which my natural inclination, again, it's very simple, that the world that is before me is there to serve me, to serve what I want, to serve what I like, to serve what I have pleasure and comfort in, right? That's the nature of, and to bend or transform myself, that no. It's about making a dwelling place for God through um, that your engagement in the world, right? So that's the idea specifically of the sun sets, right? That's when the mitzvah is, right? And then we gave two explanations. We went further to give two explanations to the phrase of when does the mitzvah end? When the feet, the legs from the marketplace, right, are finished. Right? There's no more feet in the marketplace means no more people. But the term, and that's it, what's important is, the sages use terminology. It's not, just by the by. No. It's very telling and very instructive. It's part of the teachings, right? And we therefore can understand it not just in the literal sense, although obviously it needs to be understood in the literal sense, right? So when we speak the feet of the Talmudoi in the marketplace, it literally means, right? Because they're the last ones in the marketplace. Right? They're there after everybody else closes up shop and goes home, right? And back in the day, when so the first explanation we gave is the word shuk, marketplace, right? Relates to the word nishtaikek, meaning to long. So the Medrash explains that it refers to God's longing to create the world, right? His longing, and the word feet, right? Feet from the shuk, right?
Fill my pledge.
Ah, shkaya. Thank you. Thank you. Um, yeah, so the feet refers to the three holidays of Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, because they're the three holidays you got to use your feet to go up to Jerusalem. It's a mitzvah to see and be seen, but to see godliness and to be perceived by godliness there, right? So, in other words, referring to that level of the divine, where God sees us when we come to Jerusalem for the holidays, um, and longs to see us in the holy city of Jerusalem. Um, right? And again, this is on a metaphoric level, and we're speaking about these words because we're talking about feet and shuk and marketplace, right? The second explanation of shuk is a marketplace is a public domain. Public domain is not a private domain. A private domain is an intimate place that, for example, a man and a woman that are not related to each other are not allowed to be in a private domain, meaning closing the door. You know, a man closes the door with another woman in the room. That act is intimate. And if it, that act is intimate. So the shuk is in the public domain, a place where there isn't an intimacy. So in the metaphor, meaning there's a place of not feeling united. Private domain, you feel united and one with God. Public domain, you feel separate from God, right? Because it's a public domain in Hebrew, which is the marketplace, is found in the public domain, is the domain of many. That's what it is in Hebrew. Rishus harabim. It's a domain of many, meaning a place where there isn't an intimate union and oneness with God. That's what the shuk represents. That separation. And that's what the Tarmadoi, those people that were what we call the wood gatherers, right? And also those words represent, those letters make the word moredis, which means rebelling. The fact that you feel separate from God, that in itself is a sense of rebellion, right? And it's the feet, and the feet here, right, is the feet previously was a holy thing. Right, the 3 holidays of feet, right, called Shalish Regolim. They're called the three feats, referring to the 3 holidays. That's how we call it. Right here, word regel is feet. Feet is the habitual ways that we have. Right. Oh, my feet just took me there. Right. It means my habit brought me there.
Impulse.
Right. No, that's not impulse. Habit and impulse are not the same thing.
Okay.
That's 2 separate ideas completely. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Impulse was something in the moment that got you. Habit, nothing got you. Right. You, by habit, your feet brought you to shul. Right. Right.
Okay.
It could be by impulse you came to shul, or it could be by habit you came to shul, or it could be divinely, you're thinking, by me, it's by habit. It's a habit, right? Oh, thank God it's a good habit. We have bad habits, right? So here we're talking about bad habits. Bad habits to rebel habitually, to feeling separate from God, right? So we brought the 2 explanations together. Then what does God want? What's he desire? The first explanation, right, that he's a longing, right? He's a longing that a place where we make a dwelling place for him in this physical world, a place where we have freedom of choice, that we feel separate from God, right? That we feel that, of course, not believing in God doesn't mean that you don't feel separate from God. God is God, and I'm me. And okay. So, and here, now, that freedom of choice gives us a capability that I could now put aside my agenda that I'm me, and therefore I'm here to, I'm here to fill my needs, to do my will, to get what I want out of life. And what God's longing for, what he truly desires is that, no, we're here to make a dwelling place for him. We're here to make him, God Almighty, comfortable in this world. Make him revealed in this world. Make that the klipas and the sitracha, the negativity of this world is not in my world. That's not what, I refine it in order that there's a space for God in my world and in the world around me. L'chaim. That was a review of what we learned till now. More to come.